by saying that, I mean, unless you've been living under a rock over the last few months or years, you should know by now that there is something taking over almost every industry by storm, which is AI. They say it's coming for our jobs. They say
it's one
for
of
our
the things that you
livelihood.
see.
Some people are scared, and others too seem confident. So myself, I think a year ago, I was wondering, where do I even position myself in this AI space? So it led me to go into, no, I want to, like, I was trying to use AI because ChatGPT, like some model is, the new model is out, something Claude is out, some new Charlie, I couldn't keep up. Like, I couldn't keep up at all. And when you can't do that, you realize that the fear starts to get to you. You'll be like, what if I sleep and wake up one day and then there's something new you don't know? And moreover, those of us who find ourselves in the tech space, you know, there's a notion that AI is tech, so you should know everything.
You should know everything about it.
And sometimes students, fellow colleagues, even family members throw some AI tool at you, and genuinely you've not heard about this before, right? Yeah, so it led me to quickly think, where should I position myself? And then I felt like I want to be on the building end of things more than the using end of things. So it led me to get certified as an Intel AI Master Coach.
Okay.
So what that simply means is that we move from consuming AI to building AI.
That's good.
We want to learn, how do you build with AI on AI, and most importantly, how do you pass on that knowledge or information to the younger generation? But now coming back to your question, leapfrog. When we talk about leapfrog, it looks like we need to take a big jump. But somebody will wonder, why?
Yeah.
Now, the truth is that here we are in Africa, it looks like almost every significant technology, I mean, that starts to revolutionize our spaces, happens that we fall behind. And it's easy to throw blames on different people's ends. But today, this is not the time to talk about that, right? Now, we've realized that almost always when it happens and we try to follow up, we can't catch up like fast enough, because by the time we move from 1 to 2, our leaders have gotten to like so suddenly the 2 we are learning is redundant, right? And especially because we are heading towards like a global village, stuff like that, it's really extremely hard. So it's about time we must now jump, right? I think that's where the conversation leapfrogging comes in. And I think with AI specifically in 2026, particularly for me, I think for more people, you've seen that this 2026, a number of news initiatives and happenings have positioned Ghana and Africa such that it's about time that we are not going to follow in order, but we are going to take huge steps to, if possible, we still have a chance at leading with AI. Now, why do I say that? You know, every part of important technology that has come up is sort of needed that if you are traditional, you must move to digital. So same thing with AI. Earlier on when AI came up, we used to tell, clients that, Charlie, you can't do AI if you've not even moved digital. Like, so imagine you are still writing receipts on paper. Then you say you want to implement some AI. To be hard, because if we are to ask you, where's your laptop? You say, I don't have a laptop. Do you have internet? No.
So how do you go about that?
I think this year, through some technology, some awesome AI technologies that have come up, we found people completely cutting off that digital bridge and being able to move straight away from traditional into implementing AI. And I think that is some of the most wonderful things me myself I've come across and I've seen. So now people can use AI with WhatsApp. They can use AI with just their smartphones instead of needing maybe a laptop, some sort of complicated software and stuff. So again, to just highlight on the answer, I think that we are in the right time, we are in the right dispensation, and this leapfrogging is happening. There are one of the most tangible examples is recently, quite coincidentally, we had Ghana outdooring and commissioning a 250 million AI research center, blah, blah. That is huge, because if that should happen and that should be put into effect properly and utilized properly, suddenly we can use our own data, we can use our own tools, we can train our own workforce in-house, then that will help us jump in the leapfrog.
That's so good. Yeah. Coming to you, Alex. What does that look like? You're a developer.
For sure.
So what does it also look like for you in 2026, this conversation that we are even having?
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for the question. And I want to appreciate Joshua for setting the pace for me to follow. I think just by way of continuing from where he ended, we have a minister and a government that you can see that they are really open to innovation and technology. And I think coming from, for the past 2 years, we've seen Ghana embracing AI and technology. Usually, as he said, when we talk about leapfrogging, we are not really saying that we want to make a very huge, because AI has come already.
Yeah.
We are not going to do anything beyond the
What
AI.
is already there.
What do we actually mean by leapfrogging? I heard you mention Ghana moving from industrialization, the mobile money system. What fundamentally you see is that, especially with the mobile money system, Ghana and Kenya adopted the mobile money system quite early. However, we didn't contribute to the core technology itself. And so when we talk about leapfrogging, we are looking at an ecosystem where Ghana can lead in building the core technologies and aligning these AI models,
the infrastructure,
owning our own data policies. Like everything, we control access to the AI infrastructure that we have, so that we would not be reliant on these Western technologies and tools, ChatGPT. I think that's what most people know. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. We will not be reliant on them. Because for instance, if ChatGPT goes down, it means that all of us who use ChatGPT, we are all going down. So I think that leapfrogging basically in 2026, we are looking at how Ghana can lead the conversation, especially in owning access to AI infrastructure, owning access to the data, and our own policies that can govern the ethical use of these AI models.
Great. So still on you, Alex, when it comes to AI models, usually they are trained. But in our part of the world, with these trainings that is done, it will usually be done by Western data.
Sure.
In fact, when it comes to documentation, it's one of the conversations that we even have here on this show, how we even put things together.
Sure.
Data. It's not something that we really have in this part of the world. But then when AI models are being trained on Western data, right, does this digital bias affect a developer in Africa? Because if you are going to be doing something and it's like all the data is coming from elsewhere, can we just talk about this and how it affects the developer here in Africa?
All right. Thank you once again. I think that, yes, it's going to affect us as African developers, because most of these AI models are trained on data that is specific to the West.
Exactly.
All right. And so, for instance, let's assume you want to build an AI that can check the eligibility of someone getting a loan or something. Now, you take the Western data, their data is structured in a way that, they have jobs, they have credit scores, and they have formal employment and all that. Now, imagine that your auntie somewhere who is working at Kantamanto.
Totally different.
She makes money in cash, and the AI may probably flag her as a high-risk person, wanting a loan. It's not that the AI is stupid or the AI doesn't make sense. It's just that the AI does not understand the cultural context in which we are using. So I think that most of these AI tools, as we have adopted for some time now, are biased. All right. Of course, we can still use them in, research and all of that. But when it comes to the African context, I think that we need to, because Africa actually generates lots of data. All right. And more or less, like, we have become data suppliers, unlike we are just supplying data, and we are not actually owning infrastructure that these data models are, or these AI models are being trained on. All right. So I think that, yes, to answer the question, yes,
that bias is there.
There's that bias, but we have a real opportunity now to lead and to build our own models that can understand the African context and the whole African ecosystem.
Sure. Joshua, so can we talk about Pan-African AI and the Innovation Summit, right? And in talking about it, how is it moving the conversation from using ChatGPT? You know, we mentioned ChatGPT earlier. I keep something is going to happen and how people are even going to react to it, right? Can we talk about how it's moving the conversation from using ChatGPT and all the other forms of AI models that we are aware of to building African LLMs, which is also the large language models? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that question. And yes, I mean, the Pan-African AI Innovation Summit is happening again, thankfully, this year, sometime in September from 22nd to 23rd, right? And it happened last year. It was a good conference with a lot of useful, relevant, tangible conversations. Now, this year, we want to go a bit deeper. And the theme for this year is Scaling Africa's Ethical AI and Innovation Ecosystem, with a focus on building youth capacity, policy, partnership, and skills. So this time around, it's not just going to be a talk show or a talk shop or all talking. We are going to, we are going to now actually do.
Yeah.
And by doing, we are going to bring together partners, speakers, ecosystem leaders, and the builders themselves, just like Alex answered, to now create some sort of a synergy, and then say that, okay, last year when we had the conversation, all of us were using maybe the ChatGPTs, the Claudes and co.
Yeah.
We've come to the realization that, the answers we are getting from them. For instance, I'll throw in an example. I doubt there will be, maybe there might be a significant number of youths like me who at least more than once we've gone to ChatGPT and co and we've asked, how can I make money?
I'm sure.
Yeah, how can I make quick money with AI? Now, if everybody should do that search and the answers that come, yourself, when you look at the answers that come, you look at the smile and then you realize that you don't know which one you can start even tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because most of the answers that will come will look so foreign and cool. Now, why is that so? Because these kind of AIs have not been trained on our local context. And for this training to happen, I'd like to use this opportunity to touch on how AI works. AI doesn't work in a vacuum. It works on data that is has previously been fed and is continuously being fed into it. So if we have not done a good job, like as in Africa, to collect our data, to harness it, to clean it, to polish it, and then feed it to these AI tools, will always fall behind. So that is why this Pan-African conference that is coming, we are going to separate it across 2 days. We are going to have 2 very in-depth workshops, and in each of the workshops we are going to look at the data aspect, we are going to look at infrastructure, and we are going to look at talent. So we are bringing all these 3 stakeholders together, and we are saying that what role can each of these 3 people play? Who are those who are leading? Because trust me, in as much as you see everything being about Western tools, so local developers are doing stuff.
Yes.
When you are in the ecosystem, sometimes you hear someone who has done, some local guy who has done some AI tool, and you'll be amazed, right? So we want to bring all these people together and say that, okay, if you're on the side of infrastructure, what can you do? How can you position yourself to support someone who is creating data? How can you create, an opportunity for another group of people to harness this data, to clean this data, and feed it into this AI system? So it's going to be actually very busy at this year's Pan-African AI. In case anyone wants more information in terms of the actual, the individual sessions, I think when they go to the website, the Pan-African AI Summit website, they'll be able to see that, register, and then choose what session to participate.
I'm sure before the show comes to an end, we'll give some more details on that as well. I'm coming back to you, Alex. We are talking about why Africa needs sovereign AI. For someone listening in, when we say sovereign AI, how do you want Africans, precisely Ghanaians, to understand what this means to us?
Okay, so when we talk of sovereign AI, what we mean fundamentally is digital independence. And like I said earlier, we are looking at an avenue where Ghana can own its data, also can host these AI models locally, because remember, we can build the AI models, and if they are hosted on some cloud somewhere, we are still not, we still don't have any independence, really. All right, so we are looking at digital independence, where Ghana owns its own AI models, its AI infrastructure, hosting its own data locally, so that there will be no reliance on anyone, if you like, for the use of these AI that we have actually embraced. Yeah,
that's good. I'm coming back to you now, Joshua. He's mentioned sitting on some cloud service somewhere, not necessarily in Africa. Can we talk about that and whether there are risks we should be aware of about AI when we are relying 100% on cloud servers that are sitting elsewhere, usually in Europe or somewhere other than Africa? Can we just talk about that and the need for us, Africa, in terms of the infrastructure that we have when it comes to AI? Is it okay? Because he's touched on it, sitting elsewhere and not necessarily here. And we are talking about why Africa needs sovereign AI. Let's touch on that a bit.
Yeah. So the aspect I would like to come into this conversation, following from where he left off, is that I would like to give a practical example. But first of all, mention that, if there is something that matters a lot in Africa, is morals, things like respect and like order, small things like that. But if you look in the Western world, it may not be too much of a strict thing. So take an example like this. My boss sends me an email, right? I want to respond to the email respectfully.
Some will say hello, right? And all that. Yeah.
And then I use now in Gmail, say almost all the email tools, there's some small AI suggestion tool there that gives you suggest a reply to the email. And almost every single time when you hit on that suggest, the English it writes for you, you're afraid to send it. Almost every single time.
It doesn't really fit our context.
Yeah, because you are like, nah, you don't have that confidence. So you have to adjust this and add some please and pardon and kindly and so and so here and there, right? Before to you it feels like, okay, this looks like me speaking, right? And these are some of the real effects of not having our own data where this AI can train on.
From that,
So this is some of the risk. And we can scale it up to points where, for instance, I'll talk from a building perspective, right? I'm very, very sure when I say that people are constantly going to AI and they are asking them, how do I do this? How do I do that? From cooking to making money to some really surprising things. And always when AI gives you a 10-step approach, you are most likely to find 5 that doesn't apply to your context. Now, well, for adults like us, we may be able to kick out 1 or 2 steps, fill it in and go. But how about our younger generation? I've had the chance to talk to students and teachers about AI, and students as young as 10 years about how they are using AI. And most of them are, because they are not developers, they don't have in-depth knowledge about how these AI tools work. They have more of the ask, receive, and dump, like that kind of thing, right? So we have had teachers complaining that students turning homeworks that they look at the English and they are like, there's no way. This one, I didn't teach the student. It's correct though, but I didn't teach the student this, right? Why? And this is where it gets scary, because it will get to a point that if we don't move fast in this regard and we don't infuse our cultures, our policies, things. Let me stick to the educational system, like something like curriculum. You know that maybe if a student goes to ChatGPT right now and says that I want to learn maybe a topic like maybe photosynthesis, right? I'm sure that according to the Ghana curriculum, GES curriculum, they have their focus on how photosynthesis should be taught.
Yeah.
Maybe when you take another British curriculum, another UK curriculum, it also has its approach. So Now, when the student goes to ChatGPT and says, tell me how photosynthesis works, how does ChatGPT know that it's a Ghanaian student, like using the GES curriculum? So there is no grounding. So they give them sort of like vague answers. So they take it to class. The answer looks correct, but I don't know. I think most of us, we've experienced it before where your teacher asks you a question, you give a correct answer, but he's like, this is not what I taught you, and he marks you wrong. Right? So that is the case happening over here. So I think the risk falls on our younger generation, and that is, I mean, that's why we are very excited about, I mean, even spaces like this to have this conversation where we are sure most of your users are the younger generation. So we want to talk about, I mean, what we are doing and connecting it to the Pan-African Summit and go like that, and saying that, hey, if you come around, or if you listen to us, or if you follow us around, we are going to show you how to, if you even want to use AI, how to use AI for yourself.
Exactly.
Right? If you feel like the answer you are getting is not for you, how can you also build yours? And I think these are some actions we are putting in place or taking to at least mitigate the risk a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So that's fine. So you've touched on it in terms of the usage of the AI. I would like you to also touch on in terms of the infrastructure, right? Because sometimes that's what people are even scared of. Most companies actually do connect to different technologies using cloud. I mean, cloud technology,
For sure.
our Gmails that we are using and everything.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So can we just touch on that? Are there risks if we are focusing on what we are getting from the West in terms of infrastructure? Does it affect us as Africans?
It's not a straight yes or no. But funny enough, it appears as though Africans trust, their data sitting somewhere in Europe than their data sitting at Accra somewhere.
Maybe you're afraid of podcasts.
Exactly. I mean, it appears like that. Sometimes having a conversation with my boss, he will say, let's use the cloud rather instead of buying our own server.
We've even had conversations like that here.
Yeah, for sure. I think that one of the risks that we face is the issue of latency. Whatever happens to them, for instance, now there's a war in US and Iran, right? Let's assume, all right, that your data is sitting somewhere that Iran has just, dismantled the place. What it means is that you are going to be affected.
Yeah.
It's your own data.
Yeah.
Someone is fighting this war somewhere and it's affecting
you.
Yeah. So we need to move quickly into how we can also build our own infrastructure and host our data locally instead of relying on, of course, it will take some time, but we need to start from somewhere. Right? Eventually we'll get there. We cannot just say in the next 1 year or the next 6 months. Maybe we can start from somewhere. In the next 5 to 6 years, we should be able to have enough capacity to host our own data so that we don't face the issues that we face. Sometimes WhatsApp can go down and everyone is hot. So how can we, of course, hosting it here does not mean that we will not have the issues of latency and all that. Definitely we are going to have it. But because it's an in-house issue, there's a way that it can be handled. There are things that we can do about it. There's something that our government can do about it. There are some interventions that can come in. But if it happens outside there, foreign minister has to now, it's a whole lot. So I think that yes, for now we can keep using it as we are preparing, to lead the conversation, especially in building our own infrastructure to host our data locally.
That's fine. I'm coming back to you, Joshua, based on what you do and the fact that because of AI, you decided to reposition yourself. I want us to talk about digital divide, right? And how can we use AI to fix the digital divide instead of rather widening it in our part of the world? Because sometimes it's really a challenge. You go to certain places and the things that we are talking about, like this conversation, you're talking about the younger ones are listening to us. It depends on where the person is. Some people, this conversation is completely new to them. So can we talk about how we can use AI to fix this rather than widening it, where a lot of people will know about it and others rather are lagging behind?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that conversation. I mean, this conversation about digital divide has been happening, I mean, for a long time. And just like the name sounds, digital divide, we are getting to a point that there will be AI divide if this digital divide is not patched or is fixed. So I mean, digital divide, like just like is like the gap between those who have access to the technology and those who do not. Now, how do we keep supporting those who have, but not forgetting about those who do not?
Don't have.
I remember some few years ago, like in one of these solutions, that numerous solutions that I built, there was a case for this, right? You know, there is the assumption that teachers in Accra are the good teachers, right? Then maybe you move to maybe teachers in maybe the central region, then teachers in maybe Ashanti region, and before you get to the north and go like that, there is that perception that like you get it not so right good. Now then the question was like, how can I let's say as a student sitting in the northern region learn from a teacher sitting in Accra? Now, before this whole thing about this digital stuff came about, literally, if I'm a very good teacher and I teach in a school in Accra, and a student in the northern region wants to learn from me, I must travel there, right? And then we got to a point where, I mean, post-COVID, most of the schools were embracing this kind of e-learning and go like that.
On Zoom and all that.
It got to a time that during the vacation classes, particularly, right, a school like St. Augustine or Presec, they'll be having some online class, and some way, somehow, one colleague will get a link, share it with another friend who doesn't attend the school, but by the mere fact that, let's say, Presec or St. Augustine or this prestigious school has gotten online and they are teaching online. Now the students in Northern Region with that link and with data can connect and also learn as part of that. Now, how does AI now bridge this gap? You know, one cool thing about AI is that it can multiply efforts, right? It can multiply resources. And we use the word clone. So what it simply means that if I embody, let's say, a particular profession, let's say a teacher, and maybe for some reason, the reason why I'm seen as a good teacher is how I explain things. I can speak to AI or let's say consult people who build for AI like Alex does at his company and co. And they can build you an AI clone. Myself, I have one, right? And I put it on my social medias. So those who want, so occasionally I get some message, someone is chatting with your AI clone. And the way it works, they know how to set it up. But it asks you a series of questions, collects enough data about you that it can mimic you for another audience in a different part of the world, in this case in a different part of Ghana. Now then it moves to a next step where now it comes to the access to this technology comes to devices, tools that they already have access to. An example is this: when things like the internet was coming up and co. You know that when people were trying to build solutions, this digital solution, they'll be like, oh, somebody in the northern region doesn't have internet access, right? They'll be like, oh, some farmer doesn't have a smartphone. In most cases, you go to the ground and you realize that they do.
They do have.
Like, they do, right? But based on their exposure and like level of information, they are used to maybe the normal communication, WhatsApp, Facebooks and co. So now the question then is that if you have built some AI and you are deploying it amongst those who are quite savvy around it, how can you also deploy it in these regions but through the channels they are used to? You get
I think it's one thing we should be looking at.
Absolutely. So that it doesn't seem like you are introducing them to a whole new way of doing stuff. So I'll give you an example. Let's say a farmer is using a yam phone, right? And he wants to ask some questions. I've worked in this space actually before. This thing about climate data. When would there be the next rainfall and co like that. Some time ago they could look at the clouds and they could predict the seasons. Now it is not like that, right? They need to rely on some expert data which is available, like maybe with the Ghana Meteorological Agency and co. Now let's say Ghana Meteo wants to implement some sort of AI that would answer this farmer's question. For people in Accra, they can say that, okay, we'll build it in a mobile app, with the understanding that almost a huge number of people in Accra have a smartphone. They can go to the Play Store, they have data, they can download an app and interact with this our solution. But what about the farmer in that rural area?
Yeah.
But then they can think of a solution, maybe something like a voice-based solution or some short code kind of thing, like, right, where the farmer will still use his same yam phone, but maybe has a hotline he can call.
Yeah.
And then in real time talk to some chat bots or talk to some, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then get the answers as if it's talking to a human here. So these are some of the examples of implementations that we can put in place to make sure that, I mean, in as much as we are trying to bridge this digital divide, we are not introducing a new, I mean, demand, that will end up widening the whole thing. So it's a bit of consciousness that, I mean, to developers like us, to implementers, they can also take note of that. Yeah.
Sure. Coming back to you, Alex. I mean, for someone listening to us who is probably into business, maybe a small business or, you know, a micro business, and we are having this conversation, how can they benefit from the sovereign AI that we're talking about, right? Without having $1 million budget? Because maybe for them thinking about it, it's like, hey, I may have to spend. How can they benefit from this conversation that we are having, and even talking about sovereign AI for Africa without necessarily spending too much on it?
Okay, so I think that for small scale businesses, SMEs, you don't need $1 million to be able to get some AI that can serve your business needs.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately, we have what we refer to as low code tools, where you don't need an extensive coding to build an AI infrastructure.
Yeah.
You know, you just use some widgets and just some drag and drop to create. There's a tool, Chatelaine. Of course, it's built by the West, but the advantage we have, or they may have, is that you have the access, or you have the opportunity to plug in your own data, so that in creating that AI agent or that AI chatbot, it understands, you know, the data that you have fed. So in this particular scenario, you are not relying on some ChatGPT model or Gemini model. There is an avenue for you to use a knowledge base, which could be the data that you have gathered somewhere. The only disadvantage would be that then, of course, because it's built by the West, the understanding of your data, you know, the entire reasoning behind how it interacts with people will still be from the West. And so, and that is why we, at the Pan-African AI Summit, we are moving the conversation from consuming these APIs and these AI tools to actually building our own, you know, solutions for local SMEs and businesses, small scale businesses, especially because as for the large scale businesses, they have the resources to, you know, pay for the expertise. But for these businesses that, you know, don't have enough, if you like, for to pay for these AI tools, we are going to focus on building, you know, some AI tools for them, so that all they do is to, you know, plug in their data. And because the tools that we have built understand the African context, they understand the African business, the African finance markets and all that, they should be able to, you know, plug in. All you do is just plug in your data. You don't need to know how to code. You just need to understand one or two things, and just,
you are good to go.
Yes. And I think that by way of, we, as Pan-African AI Summit, we want everyone to embrace AI. It appears as though most people have not come to accept it for what it is. All right, the thing has come to stay. Whether we like it or not, it has come to stay. The better we embrace it, the better for all of us. All right, the earlier we embrace it, the better for all of us. You know, where, you know, sometimes lecturers are not even open to their students using AI. We are not expecting students to use AI to do the assignment, but they should be able to use it to understand core concepts. They should be able to use it to get their work done, appreciate everything that is in there. So I think that when the first step is to embrace the fact that AI has come to stay. When you embrace it, whatever mechanism that you would employ, I think that it would be easier. All right.
That's good. If you are joining the conversation, this is Geek Squad with your girl Adobia Breachum. Geek Squad is brought to you by MTN everywhere you go. We are having a conversation on using AI solution, building AI solutions through local, ethical, and indigenous systems, and why Africa needs sovereign AI. I'm having the conversation with Alex, Quao, and Joshua Odoi. You can join in the conversation. Let us hear from you. What do you think? Should Africa be looking at building its own AI, like Ghana even leading this charge? Should we look at building our own AI, or we should rather focus on regulating AI policies that we have in place? Share with us on the WhatsApp number 055 1111 997 055 1111 997. I'm going to be coming back to you, Alex. Do you think that with what we are even looking at doing for Africa, we can compete realistically? Can we compete in terms of compute power, like the GPUs, given our energy challenges here in this part of the world? Or we should rather be focusing on the strength in our data quality? Made you take a sigh.
That's a very tough one.
Yeah.
I don't think that the issue is about competing. It's about relevance. If we look at competing, we may just focus on the infrastructure. But you may build an AI tool that can compete with ChatGPT. To what end? Is it relevant to what your people are facing? So I think that the question should not be about competing necessarily, but building AI systems. Of course, I can get where it's coming from. We should build AI systems that are up to par, with global standards and all that. But I think that the real question should be, how can we build relevant AI systems? Because what we face here in Africa is different from what they face outside there. So, in terms of compute, like I said, some way, somehow, they have taken the lead.
Yeah.
By reason of where we are starting from, if we say compete,
there's no way we stand a chance.
It's in a short run, no, but in a long run we can, because I think that Africa has the brain power, we have the talent, we have the innovation, we have the skills to compete. But where we stand now in the short run, it may be quite shaky. But in the long run, I think that we stand a chance to compete.
Joshua, I see you smiling. Do you have something to say to that?
I'm saying that competing there, truthfully, there's no time soon we will be on the same level. So if we put it in our mind that we want to compete, we may be losing from the start. But rather we can look at where we are rich in what we are already reaching but underutilizing. And I think just like you highlighted in the question, that is data.
Yeah.
Right? They say Africa is a rich data well.
Yeah.
Right? Provided we can collect this data, we can prepare them and store them properly, then we can lead on that data part. Because in the African region is one of the regions with also the most diverse, group of people. And if something can work in Africa, truthfully, it can work in the West.
Yeah.
But everything that works in the West can't necessarily work in Africa. So I think that's
a
maybe
good way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't look at competing. It's fine. We should rather look at what do we have best, how can we harness it and lead with something authentic.
Yeah. Coming back to you, Alex, in terms of resource mobilization, right? How is the Pan-African AI and Innovation Summit connecting local innovators with the capital they need to scale? Because there are some people who are doing some, you mentioned even some good developers here. Yeah. How is the summit going to be connecting these two together?
Yeah, so at the summit, we are bringing together policymakers, relevant stakeholders, institutions, fortunately the Ministry of Communication and Innovation, the Ministry of Youth, they are coming on board. And I think that those who may need the required funding, we have a pipeline to get them on board to build these AI solutions, because at the end of the day, what we are focusing on is to get everyone on board to assist in this journey or this endeavor that we are undertaking. So and we're also using the opportunity to call upon everyone, to partners, JoyFM to also join in the fight, to get Ghana to where it's supposed to be. But yes, most definitely at the Pan African AI Summit, we have people who will come in to support African talents and people who have innovative ideas, to take Ghana to the next step.
Great. We have a message, so we'll go ahead and read the message that we have. And if you're just joining us, we're having a conversation on the road to Pan-African AI and Innovation Summit, why Africa needs sovereign AI. And I'm having a conversation with Joshua Odoi and also Alex Quao. We've been having a conversation on how we can build here locally for ourselves and also make the impact that we want, talking about how we can even get the data, because we know that it's something that is available, and what is necessary is how we make good use of it, build something for ourselves that will be relevant in our part of the world. Let us hear from you based on this conversation. You can send your message to the WhatsApp number 055 1111 997 055 1111 997. We'll be reading your messages shortly. So we've spoken about some of the things that will be happening, as the summit. I want us to touch on the partners that are going to be supporting. And so how are they going to be supporting these partners that are going to be coming on board for the Pan-African AI Innovation Summit? And also, in terms of support in creating a pipeline for AI talents, can we talk a bit about that? Yeah, Joshua.
Yeah. So, talking about the partners of the Pan-African AI and Innovation Summit, they are going to be grouped under, various categories. We have people who will be coming in from the policy perspective, those who will be coming in from talent perspective, those who will be coming in from infrastructure, those who will be coming in from the builders perspective and co. And we hope to bring all these people together. Now, just like I mentioned, aside the talk shows and then the panel discussions and co, there will actually be workshops. Another thing that there will be again, which was available in last year's own, was a hackathon. We call it a Hack AI-thon, right? Just a nice name we give it, right? But it is that will be present, and we have even a partner, which is the Digital Youth Village, right, at the University of Ghana, right, and they have a plan where they plan to incubate some ideas and solutions like that. So I'll really say that the Pan-African Summit is a go-to place for every builder, every startup, or every person enthusiastic about the fact that, hey, I've had enough, now I want to build. I think they should be at the summit. Yeah,
that's good. This is Geek Squad with your girl Odoi Brichum. Tonight we are having a conversation on the road to Pan-African AI and Innovation Summit, why Africa needs sovereign AI. We'll take the quick tech fixes. We will be back and then we'll read your messages after that.
Hello there. I am Michelle Ajakum, and as usual, I bring you some tech quick fixes and tips right here on Joy Geek Squad. Today, let's look at how to take better photos with your phone. You do not need a new phone to take better photos. Just these tips. 1. Clean your camera lens. 2. Use natural lighting. 3. Enable grid lines. Great photos start with simple habits.
Welcome back. This is Geek Squad with your girl Odoi Brichum. Geek Squad is brought to you by MTN. MTN, everywhere you go. Tonight we are having a conversation on the road to Pan-African AI and Innovation Summit, why Africa needs sovereign AI. And I'm having a conversation with Joshua Odoi and Alex Quao. We've received some messages from you, so I'll go ahead and read them. This is from Philip Ho. This is what we need now going forward. Thank you, JoyFM. Good evening, panelists. The issue is localization and humanization of the information on AI. Thank you for sharing that with us, Philip. There's also another message from Asiwome Tema says, "Hi Adobia, today's program is very informative and impactful. As an AI trainer or prompt engineer, and I have developed a lot of concepts in the area of AI education and advocacy that we can collaborate on. I need your contact so we can work on talent development in Africa." That is noted. My producer will get in touch with you concerning that. So coming back to you, Joshua, we are just wrapping up. So just in about 30 seconds, I'll say for skeptics, if we don't achieve AI sovereignty by 2030, right, for people who are listening and just, doubting what we are talking about, what does that leave Africa's economy? Where does that leave us if we are not able to achieve that by 2030?
Yeah, I'll say that in simple terms, I'll say that let's imagine a digital slave trade happening all over again. Yes, and I mean, this time round is going to be like, it's not going to be funny, right?
Yeah.
We are better off putting in measures in place to own our systems than having it being imposed on us. Because once that happens, we will find people, we will find processes, we will find, suggestions that don't align with what we have over here. And especially taking a cue from what I said earlier, that not everything that works in the Western world can literally work here. But there's a little hope that if something works here, it can work over there, right? So I'll say that let's not sit to let that happen. At the summit, we are going to put in place, we are going to talk about practical, steps, practical measures. And we will all play our quota, we will all play our part. Media is playing its part, developers is playing its part, policy leaders are playing its part. Let's not wait for this to happen.
All right. Thank you for that. Yeah. We have another message from Kwesi. He says, "I like today's show. From my opinion, organizing our local data set should be our foremost objective rather than starting our own model." So this has been an interesting conversation. Unfortunately, our time is already up, but it's been great chatting with you, Alex, and then also Joshua. Thank you so much. Like I said, the road leads to Pan-African AI Innovation Summit. It's happening in September, right?
September.
So 22nd to 23rd.
Yeah.
All right. So more information about that you can get on their website.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us in tonight's conversation. Can you just touch on the website? Is it the same name?
So the website is www.panafricanAIsummit.com.
Okay.
Yeah, or if they go to Google and they type Pan-African AI Summit, it will pop up as part of the first options.
Okay. So you get all the information there. You can register for that. Thank you to my producer, Prince Safo, to Pokwa, and the entire technical team. Up next is news by Michael Ashali. Stay tuned.
Yeah, done.
Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion. Like how a single word can make a heart open. I might only have one match, but I can make an explosion. And all those things I didn't say were wrecking balls inside my brain. I will scream loud tonight. Can you hear my voice this time? This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. My power's turned on. Starting right now. I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes, 'cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me. Losing friends and I'm chasing sleep. Everybody's worried, but